Hello, Imaginers. It's Kyla, coaching you to the career and life that you imagined. On this episode, I want to talk to you about the how. When I was in corporate America, one of the reasons that I was so scared to leave is because I didn't know what the how was to create the life and career that I imagined. I didn't know exactly how to create a business. I didn't know exactly how to go about becoming an entrepreneur and all the things that go along with that. I didn't know how to do something that no one else had ever done like I was going to do it. And our brain is very wired to understand the how. And the reason is because the how is very efficient. If we know how to do something, then our energy level, the energy required, is very low because we know how to do it. If we don't know how to do something, it requires a lot of energy. And that energy expenditure does not align with our motivational triad to three things you've heard me talk about: be efficient, of course, seek pleasure, and avoid pain. And not knowing the how, of course, is somewhat painful. It's not very pleasurable, and it's not efficient. So of course our brain wants to understand what the how is. And oftentimes I will meet clients who have tried to follow someone who has done something similar, to take a course, to read a book, to create a plan that they follow several steps that someone else has used. And oftentimes that is not always the way that they're going to get to their plan. So we're all individuals. We're all wired differently. We all have different strengths and ways of working. And because of that, our how is not always going to be the same. And that's why in my practice, what I teach you is not how to have the how, but to understand the brain and better understand how you can hack your own brain to overcome not having the how to get what you want in your career, in your life. And I want to give you an example of a how that I did not know, but an outcome that I wanted, and show you that the how is sort of on a need to know basis, is what we say in the coaching world. You're on a need to know basis for how you're going to make something happen, but we want you to plan what the outcome or the goal is. And then the how will start to come to you. Sometimes it won't be the way that you anticipated. Sometimes it'll be ways that you never could have anticipated, but you'll still get to the goal and the outcome that you want. And a recent example for me is I had created a goal, an outcome for this year to get some attention for my business through national media. I was a journalism major, which some of you may know, and I spent some time in public relations, and this is something that I know a little bit about. But what was so interesting is that I made my goal specific in terms of quantity, but not specific in terms of how it might show up. So I was thinking, as a former journalist, that a lot of the exposure that I would get for my business was around traditional national media. So print, what we used to call print publications, which of course now is mostly electronic media, through national online publications, print. They're still called print, but they're electronic publications. So national magazines and outlets that have, printed stories. And in reality, I was pleasantly surprised to see that a lot of the stories, the sort of exposure that I received around my business was through podcast interviews. And that was something it would have never occurred to me to even write down. I have been asked to be on multiple podcasts this year, and it has given me such a amazing opportunity to share more about what I love and my story, and how I can teach people some of those hacks to overcome that primal fear that we all feel. And I would have never guessed that it would have been in the form of podcast interviews. And so I love that I created a goal, an outcome, and the how was on a need to know basis. So I continue to put myself out there to tell my story, to do a video every week, to do a weekly email, and to say yes to opportunities, and those started showing up in the form of podcast interviews. So I'm including a few of the links to some of those interviews here if you would like to listen to them. But I think it's so powerful to think about the how being on a need to know basis, because we oftentimes are paralyzed by the how, and we think that we're not ready to go after something until we know what the how is. But what if the how was coming? And what if the how was on a need to know basis for you? And what if your only job was to write down the goal, which it is, by the way? So this week, I want you to think about, what is a small goal that I would like to go after that I don't know the how for, but I'm willing to write it down. I'm willing to start taking giving some direction to my brain, because that's what happens when we write down a goal. Maybe share it with someone who will support your goal, and then start to see how your brain goes to work to solve that outcome. And it will help you come up with what the hows are. But again, the hows may not be what you first anticipated. That's okay. There are so many gifts and so much magic in not always knowing the how and letting the how happen. You know that I'm cheering you on to the life and career that you imagined. Take a small step this week without knowing the how to a goal or an outcome that you have. Let me know what you're thinking about. Send me an email or write a comment below. And in the meantime, check out my website for some free resources to help you take a smaller step closer to the career and life that you imagined. I'm at kylamartinconsulting.com, and you can also sign up for a free consult if you would like to get even farther along with your outcome, and we'll see what the how rises up for you. Take care, everyone.